After nearly 35 days, Selina Rose Thomas had serviced and repaired everyone in Talv's medical penitentiary prison wards. Currently, she was walking the yard with her own newly printed, heavily modified prosthetic systems. The news that Damon had supplied her with had been quite surprising, but she had managed to take it in stride. Additionally, she was wearing casual wear, her favourite cat meme shirt that could never translate properly, sans bra, revealing the outlines of both her piercings, and short shorts that were just long enough to keep her prosthetic connections concealed from view. A second individual, a Mipos male, was following her. Like Selina, he was wearing casual clothing as well, decorated with lots of multi-spectral fractal designs all over his shirt and shorts. His entire ensemble was a travesty of clashing colours favoured by the Mipop species, and their sense of fashion was better left unsaid. The Mipops had his name on a placard pinned to his left shoulder, written in a superb blending of multi-spectral hues and pigments, declaring him as Thorioprox. The two had been walking around the yard without an escort, within the prison general population. However, Selina had been greeted with many pleasantries from those she had serviced, and was informally given free rein to talk to anyone without molestation, as was her very nervous helper, due to some kind of unwritten agreement. They did so, for a long time, talking about nothing special in particular, small talk mostly, with differing prisoners, some with prosthetics and others without. Not a single individual catcall had been directed at her, such was the respect instilled upon her by those that could. Her assistant, however, was afforded some respect, and many lewd gestures and looks that had been made towards him when the inmates suspected Selina was not looking. Selina whispered something to her assistant, then shouted out, "I need a respected and talented volunteer. You sorry fucks have 7 minutes to comply. Starting now." That got the yard and the guards into a tizzy. It was 15 minutes before some kind of order was settled upon, and neither the guards, those in the yard, nor her assistant liked it. Selina Rose Thomas waited for a few more minutes for something untoward to happen, which never did. "Okay, good. Everybody's still alive," Selina said, after a few more minutes of silence. "What's the meaning of this?" the heavily armed guard, a Nimian male, asked. "I'd like to know that as well," a positively ancient Mipos female asked. "From what I understand, I was told to listen to you." "That's what I was told as well," the Nimian said. "Perfect," Selina said. "I could use some actual security forces agents as well." "What are you getting at, ma'am?" the Mipos female asked. "That's a tad bit complicated," Selina said. "I'm the head of a new noble house. I have authority that supersedes that of basic security forces. I need capable and loyal people." "So, what? You're recruiting from prison?" the guard asked. "That's exactly what I'm doing," Selina replied, speaking to the guard. "I've already proven my worth to most of these assholes by virtue of doing my job, and fixing fuck-ups that your superiors allowed to happen. Look at everyone here. These people actually respect me, at least enough not to cut my throat in the night. The same cannot be said of you security agents." That got everyone's attention. Selina continued on. "I've asked these sorry assholes to help me on more than one occasion. Do you know what happened? Nothing. They all sat on their asses and let me struggle on my own." She paused for dramatic effect. "There's more, too. There's... With a small groan, Selina stretched as she woke up from a peculiar dream. More asleep than awake, she fumbled with the blanket she'd been sharing with Riek, and made her way to the fresher to relieve her protesting and painfully full and heavy bladder. While Riek was still denied pain management medication, he was due for a third round of blood tests in a few days' time. Cleaning herself up, Selina made her way back to where Riek was snoring softly, and snuggled herself against his sleeping form gently. Since she was so short compared to him, she did not really aggravate his broken ribs too much, though his broken bones had finally started the healing process. His body had put priority on restoring his blood-generating tissues and damaged vascular structures. She grinned a bit to herself as she felt something pressed up against her. Angling her naked body under their shared blanket, she decided to give Riek a very good morning. Again. Life was finally going right for Selina Rose Thomas. A nagging thought wormed itself into her mind as she gently moved her hips under the covers of the dark room. Is this just the calm before another raging storm? Riek awoke for the second time that morning to an empty and cool bed. Not that he could complain. Their fun in the early morning together had become a regular occurrence over the last 2 weeks. Selina had been quite gentle with him, considering his broken ribs, but there had been more than a few times where he had pushed pain aside for something more vigorous. There was something so alluring about being so intimate with a being that could crush his skull with only a token effort, at best. At any rate, his bedding was in desperate need of a wash, as their newfound morning routine was quite messy, which was most definitely her fault. Selina still surprised him sometimes, and left him occasionally wondering about the specifics of female Terran biology. It was no surprise why she was always so thirsty after their morning endeavours. Getting up slowly, he started to tidy up, not bothering to get dressed. He was still surprised at everything Selina had told him during their stay together. That she was in deep with the merchant, one of the Big Five syndicate leaders in the Wokplu system, and that they owed each other favours. Though, from the sounds of things, she was getting the better end of the deal, since the merchant did not want to be the target of her uncle, nor his friends or associates. Vice-bit, Rutek thought. I don't want to be on their shed list. What did I get myself into? Many lewd thoughts permeated his mind, and since she was so light and small. With a great deal of mental energy and effort, Rutek stopped thinking about his girlfriend and proceeded to pick up his studio apartment. As some time had gone by, almost 3 weeks now since he had first been injured, he was able to rinse dishes for his dishwasher, albeit slowly, and some other basic chores. However, he could not put them away on the middle shelf cabinet, as lifting his arms above a certain height simply hurt. Lamenting them to air dry, he tossed the still slightly damp bedding into a hamper, as well as the sheets and coverings for the cushions and mattress, leaving them bare after much struggle. He would have to ask Selina to wash them for him later. It was mostly her fault they were like that anyways. Once everything was done, and since he was still on medical leave from work, he booted up his very high-end gaming console. It was the newest version out and Waplurian made, a Phalanx Entertainment Systems Legionnaire 7. Selecting a mostly compatible, semi-self-adapting emulator program that had been installed by Selina called Cobalt Pyramid, he selected a nearly ancient Terran game from atop of a most recent games used menu list. His girlfriend has said that if he could beat the game on its hardest difficulty, he would have access to all the fan-made modifications for it. He was going to beat Doom Vintage Classic without mods, walkthroughs or cheats, on very hard. He had already beaten easy and medium. Selina had custom printed a controller setup for him so that he could actually use most of the games she uploaded. It consisted of a single handheld device and a dual foot-operated pedal system with some extra buttons. With a heavy, defeated sigh, Rutek respawned his avatar. Again. It was going to be a long slog. Why would Terrans even make such a difficult game? Selina Rose Thomas, sole Terran in the entire Woplu system, was finding it quite hard to concentrate on the road, and had left most of the driving up to the standard automated guidance program. The cause of her distractions was due to the young sprouting woman behind her, cashing in on the promise she had made to her friend some many days ago. Gerd's attentiveness had been quite discreet, and there were very few on the long drive that would have noticed anything was amiss. Gerd had finally been cleared to do very light physical activity, such as walking a few circuits in the park, certain yoga-like stretches, and been on the receiving end of exceptionally gentle companionship. Currently, the Green Woman was being quite the lewd, if discreet, deviant, enjoying teasing her only Terran friend in the whole galaxy. The two of them were on the long drive to a Goiti-run country diner she and Selina had been to once before. Adjusting Gerd's hands so that they rested on her hips, but still remaining under her skirt, Selina shouted over the wind, "We're going to be there soon, so I need you to be a good girl and behave, okay?" Without even thinking about it, Gerd replied, "Yes, ma'am. I'll be a good girl, for a time." "Thanks a bunch, Gerd," Selina shouted back. "This is probably important. I need you to be serious." "No, I understand," Gerd said after a few moments. "I'm not going to mess anything up. I've been practicing with my daggers and other small knives. I won't freeze up again like I did before." Gerd became silent, and her voice took on a determination that Selina had never had the chance to hear before. "I'll never be a helpless seedling and let my bark be eaten before my eyes. I'll have the longest fucking thorns ever. I'll stab, cut and pierce anyone that tries to hurt me and mine. I'm not a helpless seedling, not anymore. This flower has barbs now. I have barbs now." Selina let her best friend's words process and linger for a few moments as she changed lanes.
Gert, you okay there? This wasn't what I meant at all. No, but I will be. I will be,
Gert replied, holding on to Selina, adjusting her grip on the smaller woman a bit. Gert and Selina basked in the intimacy of their remarkable friendship the rest of the way to the diner, as nothing more needed to be said between them. Selina knew then that Gert had changed significantly. All she could do was hope it was for the better. Turning off the engine and putting her hoverbike into its power-save functions, the two women got off the vehicle. Selina's newly printed prosthetics gleamed in the rapidly warming late-morning sunlight. She would have preferred to have her full synth-skin ones, but those were not nearly as strong or durable as these new ones. They are expensive, as many of the components were too finicky for her to print. Each of her limbs held a Micah reactor and structural support fields, making them far more durable than they appeared to be. Additionally, the main support structures and casings were made out of a tried-and-true titanium tungsten alloy, involving nearly a dozen other trace elements, providing unparalleled strength, flexibility, durability, and still quite lightweight. The only material better was vacuum coal-forged refined metal. Such a new-age, cutting-edge, next-gen material was enough to get any engineer hot under the collar with excitement, in all the best ways. She almost told her bank account to bend over and hold onto its ankles. However, her common sense won out, and she reluctantly shelved the idea of having such combat-rated prosthetics. Selina shook herself from her fanciful thoughts as she adjusted her thick-length black skirt, and then adjusted the weapon holster she had. She had gotten used to her gauze pistol. However, the same could not be said of her combat knife strapped to her other thigh. The weapon she had printed was based off the standard-issue combat knife given to all ODSTs, and made of the same alloy and various coatings. It just looked so much bigger than it actually was due to her small size. Adjusting her favourite cat meme t-shirt that could never translate properly, then began fixing the two buns she had her hair styled into a bit, using her combat hand mirror. Gert got off the hoverbike slowly, but without help. She was wearing a purple synthetic silk-like breechcloth that was embroidered with golden thread and curving, circular designs reminiscent of ancient Terran cursive. The synthetic fabric seemed to be drawn to and clung across her skin, hiding nothing to the imagination, even revealing the fact that she wore no underwear in great detail. While nearly every sprouting preferred to be shirtless and topless, Gerda decided to have some semblance of modesty, and wore a matching kind of wrap across her breasts. Like the breechcloth, the supportive wrap concealed hardly anything. It actually may have enhanced her assets, as it provided support and left nothing to the imagination. A surprising feat, since the thin materials on both were quite opaque.
"Why are we here again?"
Gert found herself asking, as she unstuck fabric from her breechcloth that had gotten lodged into certain crevices of her lower body. Gert's stitching had been removed on her last doctor's appointment, and long-lasting surgical glue had replaced it, showing a long and thin white scar where her stitches were. It would take a very long time, months perhaps, for her to regenerate photosynthetic capabilities there.
"I'm meeting Goik again," Selina replied, as she looked in her handheld mirror. "If I interpreted his messages correctly, we have some important things to discuss."
"Why here, though? I can understand anonymity, but this place seems far below his tastes."
"There's two reasons for that, actually," Selina said, adjusting one of her buns with a frown while looking in her small mirror. "The previous owner helped him out of a bad bind when he was still a youth in university, and the second is that he just likes the food here."
Seeing the questioning look on her friend's face, Selina elaborated.
"It's an unwritten rule that you don't fuck with a syndicate leader's favourite restaurant. Bad things happen to those that do, and the other leaders tend to turn a blind eye or even help in the resulting retaliation."
"If I'd have known that, I'd have worn something prettier than these odd things," Gert said, as she looked herself over, a small frown gracing her petite lips.
"You're dressed appropriately, Gert," Selina said, as she finished it with her other bun. "Besides, didn't you and his bodyguard have fun somewhere? I'm pretty sure that won't happen again, though. Too many people want us all dead now."
"Well," Gert said in a bit of a huff, "that's enough to make a girl dry up like a desert."
"Use lube,"
Selina replied automatically, as she continued to fidget with her hair. "I didn't expect that kind of response out of you," Gert said, quite surprised, laughing a bit.
"That's what she said,"
Selina said with a chuckle, knowing her friend would not understand the very old cultural reference. Or perhaps Gert would.
"Anyway, think I look presentable?"
Yes, I do," Gert replied, looking her friend over and biting her bottom lip a bit.
"All right, Let's go inside. This should prove interesting.
The two women entered the establishment for the second time in their lives. The strong smells coming from the back kitchen were quite exotic, and almost reminiscent of those found in Terran Republic establishments. Almost. Gert held on to Selina for a moment, standing still and gripping her tightly, as the overwhelming senses of potent herbs, spices, oils, and other cooking ingredients bombarded her sensory clusters, all along her cranial flora. She let out a small noise of need as she breathed deeply.
Are you okay?
Selina asked her best friend.
And did you just...
Yes, I did. And I think I will be, though. The scents here are setting me off. I'll behave, but you'll owe me big time, okay?
Deal,
Selina said, leaning up and kissing the taller on the lips as she stood on her tippy toes.
I'll make it up to you. I promise, okay?
You better,
Gert replied after a moment, getting used to the interactions between the assortment of various strong scents and odours and her own biology.
How come that didn't happen last time we were here?
Selina asked, as the two of them were being guided to an out-of-the-way table.
Your own stress pheromones drown out everything else, Gert answered. You Terrans are just like us Sproulings, but different. Not many are actually affected by your pheromones, though.
That's an interesting bit of trivia I didn't know,
Selina said, as they sat down at the table, Goik and Grindel already waiting for them.
Good afternoon, ladies,
Goik said by way of greeting.
You're looking well, all things considered.
We've had some time to recuperate,
Selina answered easily,
and in my case, time to rebuild.
Those look far more than simply ready for combat,
Grindel said with an appraising eye.
I'd estimate that they're Tier 2 mil-spec.
You'd be estimating correctly,
Selina said with a smile, as she and Grindel became engrossed in conversation, laden with technical and military jargon, as Selina showed off her hardware to someone that understood what she was talking about, one that was not trying to kill or abduct her. They were lost to the world in their excitement.
I do not believe we have been formally introduced,
Goik said to Gerd, letting his bodyguard exercise his mental muscles. I am Goik Morpelgorks, multinational trading mogul. It's my honor meeting you.
Gerd Kwakribi Tashi,
Gerd said with a smile and a nod of her head, not trusting herself to bow as was customary for her people in greeting a social superior.
Forgive me for not bowing. I'm not sure if I can or even should.
No, it's quite all right. I know of the ordeal you went through, Goik said to the woman in front of him. If what Selina tells me is true, you nearly died from vital fluid loss.
She's right, actually. My doctors told me my heart stopped more than once, and it was hard for them to get the internal bleeding to stop, and get my heart to start up again. I broke my connection plate by firing a gauze pistol waiting for an augmented Terran. Saved my life by doing that, I think.
It's a good thing it didn't hit your head. I'd imagine you wouldn't be here, Goik said, looking at the woman as she adjusted her clothing in obvious anxiousness.
No, the young Sprouting agreed. The connection plate is one of the strongest support structures in our bodies, and if it did hit my head, and I did live through it, I'd have severe neurological damage from blunt force trauma.
Selina and Grindel seemed to still be talking excitedly about gibberish and metal.
Seeing as our compatriots have elected to ignore us in favour of more academic interests, I think we should order ourselves an appetizer,
Goik said, not even bothering to peruse a menu.
I'm partial to the fried oak-ham with a sour sauce myself. As you two are my guests, it's my treat.
Gerd nodded and looked at the menu, paying attention this time as she had been occupied the previous time she had been here. She looked at Grindel and had to bite her bottom lip as she saw him speak, his four hands moving animatedly as he did so, highlighting the gentle contours of thick muscle. She knew he was strong, having felt his strength firsthand, putting her friend Klein to shame. After a few minutes, Gerd settled on something and said to the gentleman across from her, I think I'd like to try these steamed wardress buns. They do look good. Mr. Morpelcross, I know of your, other business. How come no one here is saying anything? Sorry to pry. Grindel and Selina were going on about microreactors and more gobbledygook.
No, it's a fair question,
the mid-boss gentleman answered as he inputted their appetizer orders on the built-in touchscreen interface system at their side.
I suppose it's an open secret to the regulars here. However, they know better than to say anything to anyone, especially to any kind of enforcement agent. In return, I make sure nothing untoward happens, and I get a place where I can simply just be.
I didn't realize, Gerd said honestly, that you had so much pressure placed upon your being. It must be tough.
She knew much had been omitted, but did not press some more.
It's no more than I can't handle or endure,
Goik answered,
Though my history with this establishment wasn't why I had asked your friend to dine with me."
"I suppose it wasn't, huh?" Gerd asked, as their appetizers being delivered.
"The service was far faster than it should have been."
"Thank you, Quickclop," Greg said to the go-to waitress.
"You didn't need to prioritize my order, you know. I'm just a regular patron here."
"I know, sir," Quickclop said. "It's just slow at this time of day."
"Oh," Goik asked. "If that's the case, could you get a basket of Glenarel clams to slow steam?"
"That won't be a problem," she said. "Would you want the black sauce or the Orlanti sauce to go with those?"
"If Gretch is the cook today, the Orlanti, otherwise the black sauce," Goik said, a faint look of longing appearing upon his feature. "Actually, make that a double order."
"You got it, sir,"
Quickclop said, and sauntered away with the new instructions.
"Madam Thomas," Goik said, interrupting whatever she and Grindel had been talking about. "I've gotten all the information my sources could glean out of this." He put a heavy data cube onto the table, one that Selena had given him some time ago. Selena abandoned whatever she had been talking about with Grindel.
"What did you find?"
she asked earnestly. "Not a lot, I must confess," Goik answered. "A defunct bank account from a defunct banking company, which originated somewhere in the Oort Cloud via proxy."
"At least there's something to go by," Selena said, picking up the data cube and putting it in her purse.
"My trusted source says that a lot of effort went into making the source of funds as hard to track as possible."
"I'd have done the same thing in their shoes," Selena said, thinking, then asked, "That's not the real reason why you've invited me way out here, is it?"
"As perceptive as ever," Goik commented. "You're right. I would like you to start a new trading guild."
"With yourself as primary trade leader, right?"
"Naturally, yes," the old Mipop said, as he ate a deep-fried morsel of some kind of plant stem. "Please, help yourself. While you and Grindel were engrossed in academic gibberish, your friend and I ordered. My treat."
Gerd was halfway through her second steamed wardress bun as she said to Selena, a hand over her mouth, "The buns are really good here." She swallowed her mouthful of food and continued, "Whoever made these knows what they're doing." Selena took a bite of one of the small buns, having already had a wardress before.
These are good. I didn't expect them to be like this, at least here on Wokplu."
"That's one of the reasons why I like this particular establishment," Goik said. "Most species can eat anything here up to a certain point."
"That's some dedication,"
Selena said, taking a fried oakum as a taste.
"These are good too. Reminds me of broccoli tempura."
Goik let her enjoy the almost but not quite taste of her homeworld before he spoke up again.
"You'd be greatly rewarded with having the guild under your name and banner."
"I know. I talked it over with my ladyboy AI, Damon," Selena said, getting her glass refilled with an opaque, silvery liquid. "Thank you. And I have my own agenda and demands I need met."
"I expected no less."
"These are just preliminary and subject to change until we can reach an agreement of some kind," Selena said, eating another steamed bun. "But I came to Wokplu to make a difference. I came here to help people, so that's what I'm going to do. Whatever money, taxes, dues, or whatever, I want that to go to the clinic I'm trying to start up."
"I had thought you would say something similar to that," Goik said, as their main orders arrived. "I'm sure there's more."
"Yeah, I need..."
They talked for a long time, even after all their food had been cleared away. Selena was just as distracted on the ride back to her home with Gerd, and was much less reserved about the whole thing as her meeting had completed on a good note. While there would undoubtedly be more meetings in the future with other guild members, she had no ill omens or feelings about them. Once she parked her hoverbike and set it into its power save mode, the two women made it inside with lots of giggling, touching and fondling.
"Girl,"
Selena said in a heady whisper, fumbling with her passphrase a bit.
"Help me get my other limbs on before you have your way with me, okay?"
"Ooh, the ones with the nice sim skin?" Gerd asked, letting her hands linger on Selena's hips, where flesh and metal formed a near seamless connection. Proof that Selena's surgeons had been top tier.
And I need to tell Damon something."
"Okay, this should be fun." Inside her workspace, a trail of clothes behind them, Gerd began to help Selena change out of her combat prosthetics, the whole thing intimate, beyond the physical, as Selena trusted Gerd with something so vital to her being, willingly, beyond more than circumstances, as had happened with Klein. Selena shivered as feeling in her left arm ceased, even though she had been ready and the prosthetic properly powered down for disconnecting.
"Damon," she said, "there's a data cube on the connection pad with some recovered records." I found them. Not a lot, really, the machine mind replied. Find out anything you can and fuck him up. Use my new noble house title privileges. That one house I own as collateral, whatever is necessary, I don't care. That person wants me dead. I need to know who they are. There was a very long pause as the noises in the computer ramped up, the calling system going to maximum and making noise as well. Still drawing on every byte of data processing the machine had, Damon asked, "Are you sure you want to do this task within the parameters set?" "I'll make it official, you sadistic bureaucratic asshole," Selena said with another shiver, and synthetic simulation of her left arm became known, as Gerd ran her fingers over the simskin softly, and a bit of annoyance. "I, Selena Rose Thomas, do give the Ladyboy Class AI, designation Damon, full autonomy in the task of finding whoever paid to have me assassinated, murdered, removed, offed, etc." "I have to ask you to repeat that." She did. "You'll just trust me, just like that?" "I trust you won't turn into Skynet, GLaDOS, HAL, Mysterion, Brainiac, Digistar, or any number of media-depicted hostile AI," Selena said. "But more than that, I feel we're friends." "I see. I'll need a rotation to prepare, but after that, you probably won't have access to my services. I suspect I'll be gone for upwards of 30 rotations. I'll keep a regular backup, at least, I'll try to." There was a pause. "You're my friend as well." The air in Selena's workspace soon became heavy and heady with the scent of roses, Selena doing as she was told by her friend. Weapons were always within easy reach of either woman.